So a lot has changed in the world of Valorant ever since I made my last tier list video, and by a lot, I mean really not that much, but they added Vise, Chamber got a massive buff, Astra got a massive buff, and then Riot just announced that Gecko, Cypher, Phoenix, and Sage are going to receive changes, so it's about time for another tier list. Now, before we actually get into any of the agents though, I do want to point out that this is strictly for Valorant on console only. And yes, there is a lot of overlap between PC and console, but some of the game is just fundamentally different. So if you see a ranking that you don't necessarily agree with, that could be the reason why. Also, pretty much the main two criteria I'm going off of for this list are 1, the ease of use of that character, so basically just how easy it is to get value out of their kits, and for 2, the max potential of that character. So in the right hands, how good can they really be? Jumping straight into it though, let's get started with the C tier where we have our first agent, Vise. Now I am going to talk about Vise a little bit more than any other character in this video, simply because she is new and she also needs a lot of help. For one, her kit just does not feel very strong whatsoever. The flash is very good when it works, and I'm not going to factor in bugs to this video because I know Riot will fix them, everything will smooth over. But on release, her flash was getting stuck in walls. You would flash people and get an audio cue like good hit, and then the guy wouldn't even be flashed. She was just very frustrating to use. And even with some of those bugs being fixed, I mean, her shear is just not a very strong ability. You can bait it out by just doing a simple jump peek, and then boom, minus 200 credits right there. Her razor vines, they're good for slowing down pushes. But really, what else? I mean, you can't throw them on top of the bomb because they don't do any passive damage if you aren't moving. And her ultimate is also just horrible. You either leave the zone if you're, close enough to the edge, or you just stay in there and, you pop your Neon ult, you pop your Jet ult, you pop your Chamber ult, you pop your Razor. There are so many different counters. I mean, or you could just wait out the timer because it doesn't really last that long. But that ult costing 8 is criminal. It needs to be lowered to 7 or something. They need to help out Vise desperately. Moving on to the other C tier agent though, we have the brother himself, Harbor. Harbor is not bad by any means. He's not in the C tier for the same reason as Vise, I'll say that. Honestly, I think I probably should have put Vise in D tier because she really is just that bad. Harbor is an agent that, in my opinion, can actually be very good, in the right situation and with the right person using him. But it just comes down to the fact that he doesn't give you as much value as most other controllers in the majority of situations. But like I said, by all means, if you're cracked with Harbor, he can be very, very good. Already moving up to B tier though, we have our first agent, Brimstone. Brim is just always a very solid pick. He has 3 smokes, so he can do pushes, other controllers just can't unless you have a double controller setup. And no agent in this game is better at denying diffuses. I mean, think about it. If you have your Brim molly and you have your Brim ult, the other team is not getting that diffuse unless you monumentally screw up. Not to mention, Brim's combat stim did actually just get buffed, so low-key, if you wanted to put him in A tier, I wouldn't be mad at it, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think he's there just yet. The next agent we have in B tier is Fade. Fade is one of the most unique initiators in this game in the sense that nobody really clears space like Fade. When it comes to taking sites, being able to clear corners and clearing 7 different spots where an enemy could be with just one ability is absolutely undefeated. But what hurts Fade's ranking a little bit is the execution needs to be very good by both your team and, the one using Fade. And a lot of teams just don't make great use out of her util, which does hurt a little bit. And also, she isn't the greatest on the biggest, variety of maps. When it comes to Lotus or Bind though, Fade is arguably the best initiator pick. Moving on though, the next B tier agent is Astra. Astra pretty much jumped from C to B tier for one reason. She regained her 5th star, and that was more than enough. In terms of pure strength, Astra is one of the best controllers in this game. She is just incredibly hard to use for most players, and that is pretty much why she's in B tier. Her having that 5th star, like I said, does help a lot because even for people who maybe aren't as good on Astra, it does make, using her abilities a little bit more forgiving. The next B tier agent is Deadlock. Deadlock is another pretty situational pick, and she's Also, most of the time just outclassed by Cypher and Killjoy, even Sage in a lot of situations. So I can't really make any case for her being higher than this, but she is pretty simple to use. That does help, and her ult can be a free round win in the right situations. If it's a 1v1, you use her ult, and that is a big thing. I will say that. Her ult, great. Rest of her kit, I mean, kind of mid-tier, but not the worst. With the upcoming Cypher nerf, though, she could definitely see more value. Moving on, though, the next B-tier agent we have is going to be Yoru. Yoru is a prime example of an agent that is very difficult to master, arguably the hardest in the entire game, but a very good one when you do master him. It's also for that reason that ranking this guy is such a nightmare, because if I put him too high on the list, it doesn't really make sense because most people can't pick up Yoru and go crazy. But at the same time, I don't want to put him too low because, I mean, he is genuinely very good. Which is kind of why I just ended up settling on B tier, because even lesser experienced Yoru players can still get decent value out of his flashes, and his teleport, I mean, you can get lucky with it sometimes and make some plays. I'll just put it at that. Finally, though, coming in as the last agent in B tier, we have Sage. Now, it is worth mentioning that Sage is receiving changes, which pretty much everybody believes is a buff very, very soon. So she could ascend to A or even S tier depending on that change. Personally, I think they're going to give her self-heal back to 100 back. I could be completely wrong. It's all just speculation. But I'm not going to make any judgments based on what we don't know. I think B tier is a safe placement. This is where she was on my last tier list. And she is a very solid agent overall. Moving on up to the A tier, though, we have our first agent, Chamber. Chamber was previously in C tier in my last tier list video. But the buff that Riot Games gave this guy, it was genuinely that good. Literally, the only thing that changed was they made his teleporter have 5 more meters of range. But since Chamber is able to teleport, through walls and, objects being in the way of the teleporter don't matter, that is a massive for a character like Chamber. On attack, he got so much better because he's able to play for a very aggressive pick now. And on defense, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You can play some stupid angles and get out pretty safely because his teleporter is just that goddamn good. I previously said that there was no reason to play Chamber, but I was very wrong after this buff. That was something. Anyways, that's enough glazing Chamber for today. Moving on, we have Jett. Jett is another absolutely amazing agent. She's pretty much always going to end up in A tier because she can't be S tier since Riot took away all of her util brutally. Just give it back. Like, I'm not asking for 2 updrafts, but I'm asking for something, right? I'm asking for something. And there's got to be a reason I miss all of my Jett knives every time I pop it, right? Okay, maybe that's just a skill issue. But Jett overall, I mean, just a great agent. Which also leads me into the next A-tier agent, Raze. Raze and Jett do literally exactly the same thing. Very good entry duelist, and Raze's rocket always pisses me off because why am I shooting at some guy doing 148 damage? It should do a little bit more, is all I'm saying. But otherwise, no complaints for Raze. Being able to double satchel everywhere, really, really good. Moving on, though, the next A-tier agent we have is going to be the Omen. Omen is an agent that, in my opinion, probably should be S tier, and if we were talking about strictly potential, he is S tier because he is just that good. The reason I put him in A tier is Omen can be a very team-based agent, and if you have bad teammates, which you often get in ranked, you could throw the most perfect paranoia of all time, and your teammate just won't swing on it, or, he might swing and miss all of his shots. And you can't really use the ability for yourself as much, which hurts Omen's ranking a little bit, but the dude he's an absolute beast. I wanted to put him S tier. The next agent in the A tier is going to be Skye. Skye is a very good initiator for both flashes and getting info for your team. Also, having an ult that gives you the exact location of everybody on the other team is very, very strong. I mean, overall, there's nothing to dislike about Skye. She's a great initiator. Yes, there is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not as steep as somebody like Astra, I would say, or even Harbor. Next agent in A tier is Mr. Shockdart himself. It is Sova. Dude is just an absolute intel beast. I mean, he gets you good recon, has his shock darts. Some of you maniacs use lineups, and he's even better if you learn all of those. I mean, I remember this one time I was defusing the bomb on Ascent, and this dude, I mean, he planted it for it, so I mean, I'm gonna give him the credit, but I got hit by 2 shock darts from the moon. I don't know where they came from, but yeah. This dude's annoying with lineups, and he is a very good agent. His ult's pretty much a free round win. Just a great character overall. Moving on though, the next A tier agent we have is Killjoy. Killjoy is not as good as Cypher in most situations, but she has a lot of great utility. I mean, you have her alarm bots to give away people's positions. You have her swarm grenades that deny diffuses. Her turret that watches flanks and has some questionable detection at times. I'm just going to say that. And then, obviously, her ult. Why am I forgetting the name of the ult? It actually just slipped my head. The lockdown. I don't know how I forgot about that. It just kind of slipped my mind, but it came back. The lockdown is a free round win, unless you monumentally screw it up, in which, in that case, it's your fault. I'm just going to be honest. There's a reason it costs 9 ult points. It's really strong. Moving on though, we have the guy who makes sure you can't have any fun and you cannot use a single ability. It is KO. KO, other than being an annoying piece of shit, is a very, very good agent. And I mean, having his knife for recon and, like I just said, disabling abilities, absolutely great. His ult also disabling abilities and giving him, a second chance if you're able to get the res, which usually doesn't happen, but I mean, sometimes it does, and it can come up clutch. And then his mollies, I mean, they're like every other molly. I don't know what y'all want me to say, but he's a great character. All I gotta say, I hate him, but he is a very good character. Speaking of annoying characters, Breach is also right there. And yeah, he's very good, but he's very annoying. He'll flash you 2 times, hit you with 2 stuns, and then throw his ult that'll knock you off the map on Abyss. Hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it a couple of times. And the dude is just an absolute menace to society. Very annoying, but having a Breach on your team, especially on a map like Lotus, I mean, it is pretty nice, I won't lie. Moving on to the next A tier character though, I really wanted to put this guy in S tier, like really, really bad, because he is that strong on console and his flashes are borderline impossible to dodge. It is the brother Phoenix, the super high level tactics, remember that. Yeah, my impression is probably not very good, but he's a great character. I mean, literally, you cannot dodge a flash on console because our sensitivities are just not high enough. I play on 20 and I still can't dodge that brother's flash because it is so unpredictable. And for that reason, he is very, very strong. Not as good on PC, but just, oh my god, dude, playing against a good Phoenix will actually make you want to break something. It is worth mentioning that he is getting a change pretty soon. We have no idea what it is. Could be a nerf, could be a buff. Nobody really knows. Finally, coming in to close out the A tier, we have Viper. Viper is just a very solid character on both offense and defense. She gives you options that you wouldn't have without a Viper on your team. And she is able to deny diffuses with her snake bite, which is also great. I mean, there really isn't anything to dislike about Viper. I mean, unless you're playing against Viper and she puts a Viper's Pit on the spike, which is very annoying because it's pretty much a free round win. Viper's a great character. Moving on to the best of the best though, starting off the S tier, we have Clove. Everybody knew Clove was going to be S tier. I mean, being able to self-revive as her ult is absolutely insane. Having an overheal that literally feels like God mode, I mean, that's something. Having a decay bomb that gives you free kills, especially on pistol round or whatever it may be. And then also having smokes like any other controller. I mean, she's really, really good. Basically a duelist with, the role of a controller. The next agent we have in S tier is going to be Cypher. Cypher is just very, very strong. It is worth mentioning he is going to be receiving a change very soon, which, let's be real, a change to Cypher, if it's not a nerf, I would be shocked. The dude is an absolute menace to society. Do I think that nerf will slaughter him and take him out of S tier? Probably not. He's still going to be an absolute beast. Speaking of characters who are probably getting nerfed, Gecko is next in the S tier. I mean, this dude, he's everything you want in an initiator. He has a flash, he has a remote plant / diffuse, he has an ult that can be used twice around and, it can stun pretty much the entire team if, used correctly and they are grouped up. I mean, he is a very, very strong character. I don't know what they're going to do to nerf / change him, but will he still be S tier? Probably. I don't see Gecko going anywhere for a while. Another agent that definitely won't be going anywhere for a while is Neon. She is a bona fide S tier character, and anybody who disagrees with that, I mean, I think you've just been living under a rock. I mean, having 2 slides that are stupidly strong, up to 4, depending on how many kills you get in the round, then having a stun on top of that, with a wall and a 7-point ult that's actually good. I mean, Neon is just... she's borderline broken. I don't want to say it, but I mean, if you're going up against a good Neon, good God, man, it's rough. Moving on to the last 2 agents of the video. The first one we have, it's ISO. All right, y'all knew he was going to be here, and this dude makes me want to punch a hole through a brick wall. But if I actually tried that, I mean, my hand would definitely be broken because I am not that strong. I mean, that's some crazy shit right there. I'm not gonna lie. But ISO, like, this dude, man, like, tell me why I break his shield, right? And then one of my teammates feeds this dude. He gets another shield. Then I gotta break that thing again. And then the same thing happens. I gotta break that shield like 17 different times. Hit this dude in the body 8 times, or head like what feels like 15 times. I mean, I don't know. The dude is just a demigod, and you can't take him down. You literally can't. I mean, Riot, take him out of the game. I'm done. Enough of that, brother ISO, though. The final agent in this video might surprise some of you guys. I have Reyna in S tier. I know it seems wild because how is Reyna above agents like, you know, Raze and Jett? I gotta say, the buff that they did to her ult was all she needed. It was all she needed. And I know it wasn't technically a direct buff. It was more so like Reyna's ult and the combat stem. They just had their recoil adjusted so it was the same as regular recoil. But it made Reyna's ult so consistent and so lethal. The fact that only takes 6... It only takes 6 ult orbs to get Reyna's ult. Y'all need to understand that. And with how good it is after that buff, I couldn't not put her in S tier. She literally feels like a demigod on console. I don't really think it was that much of a change, you know, for MNK players, but holy shit, she is really, really good. Not as good as ISO, though. ISO probably deserves a tier of his own, probably like S+. I won't lie, but I hate that brother. Once again, Riot, take him out of the game. Anyways, though, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys did end up enjoying it, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a like and a comment letting me know what you thought. And if you are new around here, it never hurts to hit that subscribe button. Anyways, it's been Gravely. Peace.